Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I want to do a Lord of the Rings inspired makeup look, but bringing it into a kind of modern context. So thinking if you were inspired by Lord of the Rings for like a glam makeup look for a wedding even, whether as a guest or as a bride, I basically want to take the essence of Arwen, like her deep sort of berry lips and cheeks, but then do an eyeshadow look that's inspired by her, inspired by Lord of the Rings, inspired by the elves in general. I got this idea from one of you who said you're doing a Lord of the Rings inspired makeup look, and then someone else had requested Arwen because I often bring her up when I'm talking about like ethereal energy and ethereal makeup. So that's the plan for today. I'm really excited to see where this look is going to take me. So keep on watching if you want to see more. Pinning my bangs back very Hilary Duff 2004, 2005 style. It just seems to be better than pinning it to the side. Anyway, I'm going to prep the skin with Milk Hydro Grip Primer. This has always been my go-to primer for just really any foundation I use. It just creates that hydration and tackiness to the skin without overdoing it or creating like a really emollient base. I just love this stuff. And I put it on my eyelids too. All right, I'm gonna be a little experimental today with what I'm combining. You know how sometimes you have your go-tos for complexion products, but I'm just gonna see how these play together. First, I'm gonna use the Rituel Fille Creature of Light, and this is Moonlit Creature. I haven't turned to this one too much because it is a little bit of a strange shade. It's got like a bit of lavender in it, and this is a glow product. I'm going to use it at this point of the skin. Like if you were very, very fair and cool toned, it would look super cool. Just find it's maybe a little at odds with some of the yellow in my skin, but I'm going to see what I can do with it. My thought for the complexion in general isn't to be super glowy and dewy in a modern way. It's more to like evoke more of a lit from within ethereal glow, but like generally a matte look to most of the skin. But like having these little elements of ethereal, kind of strange glow. I'm going to use the Urban Decay Face Bond. This is the shade 3. This shade's a little bit fair for me. Maybe less so in the depths of winter, but I want to go for a shade that's going to help me bring more contrast into my complexion. So when I go a bit fair, it kind of just creates that little bit of extra contrast between like my brows and lips, and I feel like this look benefits from contrast. Like any ways you can find ways to make the shades pop, and that could be different for people depending on your complexion. But just generally focusing on the idea of adding a little bit more contrast to the whole look. And bringing it down the neck a little bit. Now I'm going to take these two NARS concealers. They're both in the shade Chantilly, which is generally more of a brightening shade for me. With this one, I'm just going to cover up any extra blemishes, like anywhere I want a bit more coverage. Seems maybe kind of random in placement, but when you look up close on my skin, that's where I see like the extra bits of redness or blemishes. And then I'm going to use the soft matte, more under the eyes, on the eyes, at the center of the face, because it's matte. It works well there, versus the first one I used is more creamy, so really nice for using over blemishes. And I'm not going to shy away from brightening up the whole eyelid. So I am actually gonna be getting married next October, so basically a year from now, and I'm already starting to think about my makeup a lot, and I have like several ideas, and this is kind of one of them, leaning into like more berry tones and like, yeah, giving it a very ethereal feel, and I feel like cool tones can do that, even if you are warm. There is something to working against one's color season or whatever, or complexion, that can create more of like a stark, contrasty look that is more otherworldly rather than looking very natural and harmonious. You kind of get this stranger quality. So that's why I'm interested in potentially yeah, doing a makeup look like this. We'll see how it goes. We'll see if I like it. I did do a makeup look like this last year for the true winter. It was a little bit similar and I loved it. It was one of my favorites when I was going through all the color seasons. So yeah, anyway, I'm curious how I'm going to feel about this in the end. My other thought is to go like fully into like the oranges and reds of autumn, since I love that too. I don't know. We'll see closer to. I'll probably do like several videos of like, help me choose my wedding makeup. It's definitely giving it a little ghost, you know? But as I bring some more color and dimension into the complexion, it's gonna sort itself out. I'm gonna go in with my favorite contour, no bronzer today. This is from Anastasia Beverly Hills. It's the shade Fawn. I'm literally almost out. I've had it for like 4 years too. But I love this one because it's not overly cool. It's like just perfect for my skin tone. And I'm just gonna put that under the jaw, going right into the brush rather than over blending. You know, sometimes when you do the lines, you might disturb the foundation below. Not always, but it's always a risk. And I'm just gonna kind of do a little bit. It's gonna be barely detectable. Just wanna bring out the cheekbone a little bit. It's a bit of dimension to the nose. For the brows, I'm going to do a combination of things. I'm going to turn to my usual brow powder, which I use all the time, leaning into the dark shade here. But then I'm also going to use this brow pencil from Kevyn Aucoin. It's in the shade Brunette, so it's a little bit dark. So once again, I'm leaning into this idea of creating more contrast. For me, a darker brow is going to do that. I mean, I guess it would for anybody. So first, a fill. Keeping it sort of natural. Then going in with this brow pencil to get a little bit more depth. Especially at the tail end of the brow where I don't really like to go in with the shadow. It can kind of look obvious. Then just a clear brow gel to keep everything in place. For the blush, I'm going to go in with the Merit Raspberry Beret. It's like halfway between like a purple almost and a berry. So leaning into the cooler blush tones. And you guys know I like to wear my blush lower, but I'm going to try like even more obviously so and start right here and go down from there. Being really careful not to blend it up onto the cheekbone just yet. Maybe I'll change my mind, but for now, there and lower. Like there's this particular shot of Arwen where it's like her blush it's there. It makes it look more like the lucky people who go out in the cold and naturally flush, and it kind of goes quite down your cheek. Actually, I want to go in quite heavy-handed. Now that I have this berry flush over a lot of the cheek, I'm going to go in with this shade from Luna Roots. It's the shade Twilight in the Briars. This has got a little bit more of that blood red look to it that is a little bit more like actual flush of the cheeks. And I'm going to use a small brush to focus this just a little bit more precisely. And so I'm not blending it out everywhere, but I'm getting that just extra depth and dimension into the blush. Sort of mimicking that patchy look of real flush. And it's gonna look a little messy at first, but I'm gonna blend it. I'm gonna powder a little bit, and this is gonna help blend the blush a little bit and diffuse it as well. So I'm just gonna powder the whole face. There's this magical sunbeam coming in, and I actually can't do anything about it. There's like a curtain there, but it's not doing enough. It's magical, okay? It's the elves coming through. Okay, anyway, I'm going to do something a little different, a little bit the same from what I've done previously when I've done a lip like this before. So rumor has it Arwen was wearing Clinique Black Honey. Another rumor has it that the reason they used Black Honey was because she had such pigmented lips that they wanted to diffuse it a little. So I have like for many years loved wearing Black Honey with Benetint as its base. This is basically done. I think this is my first or second one. I forget, but it's almost finished. And it's a great lip stain, but sometimes I have to layer it to really get it to where I want. And then I recently got this lip oil from Billion Dollar Industry, and it's a lip oil, but it stains to your pH level. I don't know if that pH stuff means anything. It's probably gimmicky. But anyway, I noticed it stained to a very pretty cool tone pink. So I want to see what happens if I put a layer of this on, let it develop, and then go from there. And if it's too bold, I'm going to have to backtrack. But I just really want to see that really intense flush happening below the Clinique Black Honey. So here it goes. So I'm just going to chill, let that develop, see if I can do anything about this sun. Okay, this is looking pretty Barbie pink. I'm gonna see how this is gonna layer though, because like even when I wipe it off, kind of takes away a little bit of the vibrancy. I'm gonna use a liner, kind of like a darker mauve liner. This is from NYX, and I honestly don't know the shade. Look how small it is. It might be Ever, it might not be. But it has a little bit more of that like brown in it. So we're starting to take the lip back. Okay, that's looking really pretty, but yeah, still a little bit too fuchsia. So let's see what happens with Black Honey on top. Oh, I love that. It just does something really particular. It's like you get that brownish berry, but you need that vibrant base for it to really pop, you know? Now the eyes. I'm a little nervous because I'm tempted to keep it like, okay. For the eyes, I'm imagining in particular, there's this beautiful cloak Arwen's wearing, and it's sort of purpley blue. I don't want to make this look really colorful or anything, but I want to make a nod to that. So I do have these two Kaleidos palettes, which I did use recently. This one in my ethereal grunge makeup look, which is actually what perpetuated the idea for this makeup look. But anyway, this is like a pretty neutral shade, but it has a touch of purple in it. And then the other palette I have from them, Twilight Rush, like this could be integrated just a touch. And then I want to have a lot of sparkle on the lid that's very like magical feeling. So let's see where this goes. First things first, I think I'm just going to brighten most of the lid with a white. I'm going to take this shade from the ColourPop Stone Cold Fox palette. Just create a little bit of a base. Now I'm going to take this shade from the Venus Trap palette and put a little bit of that in the crease. It's just like this really subtle purple, but it doesn't say like purple eyelids, you know? I'm going to add a touch of this purple. Probably going to blend it out with some grays so that it doesn't look too purple. It almost feels a little risky, but I do just want to see how it looks. Yeah, that's about as much purple pigment as I want happening. I'm basically doing the same thing I did with the lips, like laying down the base, the note of this shade, and then I'm gonna subdue it. Taking the Stone Cold Fox palette, I'm going to go in with this shade here, basically a taupe, and that's what I'm going to use to blend into the purple. I'm going to take the darkest shade from the Venus Trap palette and use that as the subtlest bit of liner. So just wedging it into the lash line. And then dragging it out. Then a touch of this gray in the crease, just a little bit. I'm just kind of mimicking the shape of that soft wing down and swoop. Okay, let's get some sparkle going on. A little bit of glitter glue. And I'm going to use the Fenty Diamond Bomb to start. We'll see how far this gets me and if I want to put more sparkle. I'm going to work in this direction like that, even going up onto the brow bone a little bit. That's very pretty. Ooh, ooh, sparkly. I love that. I love that it's just this kind of barely there, a little bit of shimmer. This makes me torn about the idea for my next step. I wanted to maybe put a bit of extra shimmer from this Kaleidos palette, this shade here. So let me just put it on my on my finger and then decide. Maybe I'll see what happens if I add a little bit of it. A little bit. Just a little bit more. Right here. Like, okay, yeah. This looks like a pink, but then it translates a little bit more cooler than I expected. Let's just get that extra kind of spotlight happening. Why not? Okay, before I go in with mascara and lashes, I'm going to put a bit of white in the waterline. Thank you to who told me the trick to putting pencils in your waterline. I see people sometimes just fully going at it. I'm like, how do you do that? I always have to pull it down. One of you said, push like this, and then it reveals the skin in the same way without fully dragging this down. So you can just push. Game changer. I may have done that messily because the mirror's a little bit far from me. I did, but that's okay. I'll clean it up. Okay, lashes is the next step to create all the contrast we need to make this whole thing pop. I'm actually loving this eyeshadow shade. It's just like this perfect in-between of like a lavender and a soft gray, which was exactly my goal. I was a little bit concerned for a moment there. Okay, so I actually tried this sample of the Huda One Coat mascara and I was really impressed. Not to say that one coat felt like enough, but I tried it and I liked it. I want to try it again. I'm going to prime the lashes first. This has also been a game changer, priming the lashes. I hadn't done it until I got this in PR and now I'm like, wow, it makes such a difference. It just gets like this chunkiness to the lash before you go in with the mascara. Okay, let's try this one again. Sometimes samples are difficult because it's hard to get in when it's so small, you know? I'm not always a fan of little samples to really judge a mascara. So I was impressed that I liked this. There's something about it, like you can feel it like sticking to itself as you build it up. Like, holy chunky. Like I do like a voluminous, chunky lash, but for this, I do want to have a little bit more separation. So I'm going to quickly go in before it dries with the Thrive mascara to separate them. And this is what I love to use on my bottom lashes because it does not smudge. I'm going to do this on my other eye and then decide whether to add just a little lash to this. Someone did accuse me of lash blindness recently, and I'm not denying that I possibly have some lash blindness at times, but I gotta say, a little wispy half lash at the end can make a big difference. So anyway, I'm probably gonna add one, but let's see. Okay, I did pop on a little lash. I may have lash blindness, I don't know, but I like it. We're going for glam today, even bridal. So I feel like we need that extra zhuzh to the makeup look. Now, I'm really loving where this is at right now. It is what I envisioned for this look. I'm going to add a couple extra details and talk about maybe a couple different ways I could switch up the tones. But as it is, I feel like it's really giving this soft, bridal, yet ethereal makeup look. And I feel like it's giving that nod to Arwen and Lord of the Rings, even though it is very modern in its own way, right? Okay, I want to see this as a topper highlighter, just like this little bit of an ethereal, sorry I'm saying ethereal so much, this magical otherworldly glow, and it's a lavender, right? So it's similar to the eyes. Let's just add a touch of that on top. I'm not sure it did all that much being below the foundation, but that just adds this extra, ooh, you know? I'm also gonna take the Rare Beauty highlighter and Enlighten. I think this will just look a little bit better on like the nose and this thing, I forget what it's called. Maybe even a touch of extra glow with the pink. Maybe even a little bit on the collarbones. Hope that's not too messy. Oh god, I'll take a bigger brush. Yeah, there we go. Okay, I'm loving this makeup look. I feel like it just has this color tone that feels really, I don't know, like it's giving something other than like harmony. It's feeling like it's magical. I'm sorry. I don't know how else to say it. Ethereal a little bit. The only thought I have about the lip and cheek tones is these are giving a little bit more like cool berry than like red bloodberry to me. And I kind of knew that going in because I find when I use that type of shade on my complexion, something leaning a little bit more into the pink rather than the red, it gives more of that contrast that's a bit different. Versus if you look at Arwen, in some shots, it looks more like a really flushed red, almost berry. Sort of like if I fully used this shade. I'm definitely nerding out here. And I want the look of this contrast, but I'm also tempted to see how like adding that little bit more of red might look. Should I do it? I guess I could always change it back if I don't like it. But like if I put that twilight on the briars a little bit on the lip, just to add, make it a little bit more red. Is that good? Do we like it better? Maybe. What do we think? Do we see the difference? I do. It's very subtle. I like both. I think this one's a little bit more Arwen-y, technically, but then the pink one just creates that contrast on my complexion that I think is fun. Let me dim the lights down, see if you can see the shimmer a little bit more. Can you see that sparkle? It's so pretty. Okay, lastly, I thought it'd be fun to pair a fragrance with this makeup look. I have a lot of samples I've collected over the years, and I have some other samples I have my eye on. Anyway, I want to put on the shade from Fantôme Cupola. This is actually my go-to fragrance. I ran out of my full size one, so I'm going to order it when they open up for restocks in a couple days. Anyway, this scent is really, really interesting. It's inspired by, it's the Slavic pagan celebration of the summer solstice, and the fragrance is meant to mimic like what happens during the festivities, and it's like the way the smells of the earth change overnight. So the scent notes are morning dew, davina, I don't know what that is, fern flower, bonfire smoke, birch leaves, warm summer air. And this has been my favorite fragrance. Like I said, I've already gone through my full one. Anyway, I feel like it's very woodsy, very Lord of the Rings. And yeah, I'm not a huge fragrance freak. And I mean that in a good way. But I would love to become a bit more of one. And this is for all you fragrance nerds out there. It's a very fresh yet interesting scent, and I feel like that's why it's my go-to scent, because it has that mystery to it, but it's still like kind of light. Sometimes I want to like a more heady fragrance, and I will wear them sometimes, like I did with my vampire look, but they don't always feel like me. I like that little bit of freshness on it, and this is that fragrance. So anyway, this is the look. That is the fragrance. I'm feeling really happy with this. Let me know in the comments down below if you have any more requests like this, any kind of inspo I could take from, even if it's not recreating it. You can take the energy of something, right? So yeah, that's it for today. Toasty, let's take it away. I feel like it's been a while. We weren't able to film this week, were we? We were away. We climbed a mountain, the Crack in Killarney. We had to carry him up part of it. He's normally a very good hiker, but this was like full on boulders, so he needed a little elevator, right? Yes. So anyway, I'm so happy to have filmed today. Thank you guys so much for watching till the end. And until next time, may you all find yourselves a little bit of makeup magic, and we will see you in the next video. Bye, witches.